Welcome to the Jim Show with your host, Jim. Today I'm going to talk about a new book that I'm reading. It is called The Power of Habit. It is very exciting because it combines a lot of things that I've heard about before into probably the best picture of both habits, how they work, how they get ingrained to us, how we change them, and then how willpower plays into all that. I haven't finished the book, but so far it is amazing. Highly recommend it. So I'm going to start out talking about this concept of keystone habits. These are habits that when you adopt them into your life, they change everything. They have an effect in all kinds of different areas. So a lot more than just the specific area where the habit is actually taking place. All over your life, they'll have positive impacts on all kinds of things. So a keystone habit I'm sure we are familiar with is daily exercise. Now I know you hear this a lot, probably all the time. Hey, you should exercise daily. It's great for you. It makes you stay fit, gives you lots of energy, etc., etc., etc. Well, yes, it is true that daily exercise has a huge impact on all areas of your life, everything. So you should do it. It's a keystone habit. That being said, let's go to the next one. This one's a little bit more interesting, a little bit different, and a little bit perhaps easier. So the second keystone habit I want to talk about is writing and or journaling. Now there are probably three different ways you can approach this. Well, three that I'm going to mention. One way is to make a habit of writing whenever you feel stressed out. So just write down your thoughts. Write down the things that are stressing you out. This is a good way to deal with overwhelm as well. Just make a list of all the things that are bothering you. All them out, everything that you've got. Just get it out of your head onto a piece of paper, which is a completion mechanism for many of us. Just writing it down is going to help with that a lot. And then you can look at that list and pick out the one or two things that you actually need to do, that are actually important to moving your life forward. And the rest of it probably doesn't matter that much. So that's a really good habit to do on a regular basis, especially to deal with overwhelm, is write. Now, there's a couple other things we can do with this daily, regular writing process. What we can do is do some logging. Now, if you want to change your diet, just start writing down what you eat. That's it. Just write down what you eat every time you eat something. That's all you have to do. Okay? And it will change things. And I think the mechanism is that you start looking at what you've eaten and you stop having those moments where you just eat for no reason. Because we'll do this a lot. We'll get bored and we'll eat. We'll be watching TV and we'll just eat subconsciously. And if you start logging that, you're putting your conscious mind onto that event, onto this eating process. It's not subconscious anymore once you start making a habit out of logging it. Another thing that you can do with logging is write down everything that you buy. This will totally change your finances. Completely change them. Because again, you're going to be looking at the list of, oh, what did I spend money on? Right? You're looking at it. You're conscious of it now. It's not just a subconscious, oh, I just bought this. You have a regular running tally, of the things that you've purchased and where your money's going. And you have to face it, consciously face that. Now, something that both of these have in common is willpower. Because you have to use willpower to get that habit started, right? It's gonna suck at first. Writing down what I eat or writing down every single thing I buy, that doesn't sound like any fun. So you're going to have to exercise willpower to do that. And that brings us into this whole willpower aspect of the conversation. You may or may not have heard of the concept of willpower depletion. But this is the idea that willpower, while willpower can be learned, it is not a skill. It's more like a muscle in that you can use it up within a given time, use up the strength available, and then you can't do, any more of that exercise. You can only do so many push-ups until you run out of the muscle glycogen in the muscles that you use for that exercise, and you just can't do anymore. Willpower works kind of the same way. What we're going to talk about is an experiment that researchers conducted to kind of test this out. And what they did is they took individuals, and they said that they were going to do like a taste testing thing, but that wasn't the actual point of the experiment. And so they sat them down in front of a bowl of beets and a bowl of cookies, hot, fresh, delicious smelling cookies. And one group, they told them, okay, I need you to eat these beets, only the beets, and leave the cookies alone. And the other group, they told them, you know, that you just need to eat these cookies and ignore the beets. And they left the room, they watched what the various people did, and no one really had a problem just eating the food, doing the actual eating. Obviously the people eating the beets were miserable. Like, they could tell that they were miserable doing that. It took a lot of effort to just eat those beets and stare at the cookies. Some people would like pick up a cookie and smell it and put it back down, or pick it up and then like lick the chocolate, the hot melted chocolate off their fingers, and sit there in misery, right? After they did that. So the next part of the experiment was to say, hey, we need to process some results. It's going to take about 15 minutes. We want you to just mess around with this puzzle in the meantime, and then we'll come back and get you. And what the puzzle was actually this line like tracing thing. The point is that it was impossible to complete, and so the idea was to see how long they would work on it, and if they had, you know, if the earlier part of the experiment where they had used up their willpower, the beet group had used up their willpower, if that was going to have an effect on how long they were able to continue working on the puzzle. And the other thing that the researchers told them was, hey, when you don't want to work on this anymore, just ring the bell and we'll come in and talk to you. And so what they found was the people that had eaten the cookies basically had no issue. They were happily working on the puzzle, trying out various different, you know, means of completing it, and they would work up to 20 minutes, I think is what the study results were, before they decided to give up and ring the bell. And the beet people were immediately irritable, you know, frustrated, not having a good time at all with doing this puzzle, and they spent way, way, way less time working on it before they gave up. And the sample size of this was big enough that there was clear correlation here between what happened with the beets people, what happened with the cookie people, and that the difference was totally based on the fact that they had to use willpower up during that previous session before working on this puzzle. And it completely changed their ability to, you know, succeed in that part of the experiment. So knowing that, we should always understand that we have to be cognizant of when we use up our willpower and the kind of situations that we put ourselves in. The other important part of willpower is that we know it has a huge effect on our success in life. So we'll go to another study, which is the marshmallow experiment, where they put small children in a room. They had one marshmallow in front of them, and they said, you have an option. You can eat this one marshmallow, or when I come back in 15 minutes, you can have 2 marshmallows. And what they were really studying was delayed gratification and how people were able to do that, whether or not they could actually wait in order to receive a greater reward, or they wanted the immediate reward. And what they found, so they watched these children for years after this, and what they found is the ones that were able to wait for the 2 marshmallows did so much better in life. You know, in school, in jobs, throughout their life, they were much more successful individuals. So now we know 2 important things. One is that willpower is really, really important for success throughout life, and 2, that willpower can be depleted, you know, within a short time frame, right? So if you have one activity that leads directly into another, you're gonna experience willpower depletion there if you're using up a lot of willpower to do something. And so if you go back to those keystone habits that I talked about in the beginning, the journaling, even the exercise, all of them, what do? What do they require you to do? They require you to work on and improve your willpower, to flex that willpower muscle. If you're going to work out every day, that's going to take willpower. But even just the logging of your food or of what you buy, obviously that's going to affect your diet, and it's going to affect your purchasing habits. Obviously there's a direct correlation between that, but it's also going to affect everything else, because to do those habits, to get them to where you're doing them on a regular basis, you have to increase and work on your willpower. It's a muscle. You're working it out. You're increasing it. So I highly encourage you to try just one of the writing habits, either writing when you're overwhelmed or logging food or logging purchases. Whichever area you think you're struggling in the most, just start doing that. And I think that you will see that it's gonna blossom, and it's gonna affect other ways and other parts of your life in a very beneficial manner. So please give it a shot. If you do, write about it in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. Thanks for listening.